One of the key insights of the Global Labor Resilience Index is the importance to move beyond averages. It's not enough to have, on average, a good labor resilience score. Policymakers need to go one level deeper and focus on specific segments of the workforce, especially those that are most vulnerable to shocks. One key example is the youth population. Now, throughout the COVID-19 crisis, we have seen that the youth were disproportionately affected by the downfalls of the crisis, both in developed and in developing countries. Unfortunately, the recovery for this segment has also been slower compared to the rest of the workforce, including in countries with tight post-crisis labor markets. Now, the challenge is even bigger for regions with limited labor resilience drivers, such as the MENA region, currently facing increasing and staggering levels of youth unemployment. Today, we have three key strategic directions for MENA region countries to face this challenge. First, it's less about one policy solution and more about having a balanced policy mix that includes diversified sets of instruments, both on the supply side and on the demand side, that leverages a whole-of-government approach with policies from the education sector, from the labor sector, from the economic sector, etc. The second key strategic direction is that wicked policy challenges, such as the youth unemployment, tend to be rightly perceived as requiring long-term and structural reforms. However, this can lead to a paralysis of first action by governments and policymakers. One strategy to circumvent this is to have an experimental approach and to maximize the utilization of technology to accelerate implementation and delivery of policy programs and enable coordination between the different stakeholders. Finally, the third strategic direction is to leverage as much as possible local and regional best practices and benchmarks. One very insightful example is the case of the United Arab Emirates, one of the very few countries of the region that managed to increase its labor resilience score this year. An interesting program that was launched by the UAE government to face youth unemployment in particular is the NAFES platform that acts as a one-stop shop for job seekers and offers a diversified set of policy instruments, both targeted financial subsidies and customized training, education and skills initiatives depending on the segment of the job seekers. Countries from the region can learn from these local best practices and adopt a trial and error approach in order to progressively solve the challenge of youth unemployment. Thank you.